Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters. I'm Mandy Rose. I'm a holistic health coach, spiritual mentor, and astrologer. And today we're going to dive into Aquarius season. So if you have your 2021 Retrograde Astrology Journal handy, go ahead and grab it because we're going to walk a little bit through what I wrote in the journal, but we're also going to dive in a little bit deeper. So if you go in your journal, towards the front, we are still at the beginning of 2021, you will see a page that says Aquarius season. And I left plenty of space here for you to go ahead and take more notes because of course when I typed up this journal, I couldn't write everything. Otherwise the journal would have been like that thick. So that's why I wanted to make these videos to supplement what I wrote in here. So go ahead and take notes. If you haven't purchased your journal yet, don't worry, you're not far behind. You can go ahead and purchase it at the link below. And even though some of the events like the new moon in Capricorn have already occurred, you can still go back in the journal and still fill out the journal prompts. And then think back to like what was going on in your life around the time that this event happened. So don't worry, even if you're purchasing the journal further on in the year, you're not missing out. And I also created this journal to help you better understand every astrological event. So even if you're purchasing it later in the year, you can still go through and read what each moon means, read what each retrograde means, read what all the seasons mean, and you can still learn even though the time maybe has passed. So let's talk about Aquarius. Today I wore my most craziest outfit because Aquariuses are known as the alien of the zodiac. They're the most far out sign. They are the crazy inventor vibes, that no one understands. They're the hippies of the zodiac. They're not afraid to be outside of the societal norms and do things their own way. So every season I decided when I make these videos, I'm gonna dress for that season. So this is my hippie far out Aquarius vibes t-shirt. I brought the chart. This chart is actually for the full moon in Leo. So go ahead and check out that video on the 28th of February. But I left it up here because when I talk about Aquarius season, I think it's really important for us to understand what's actually happening in the sky during the 4 weeks that we call Aquarius season. So we all know from our normal calendar that we use that January starts with January 1st, ends with January 30th, and it kind of makes like no sense. Like how do they determine like all these different times and dates? Well, in astrology, our calendar is based off the sun, and it's where the sun is placed in the sky. And so like I think I said in a different video, all these different like little triangles that you see represent a different zodiac sign. So right here we have Capricorn, and it's just a constellation in the sky of a bunch of stars that we call Capricorn, and it looks like a goat. And so what happens is the sun goes into Capricorn, and then by the time it goes from the beginning of that constellation all the way through to the end of that constellation is what we call Capricorn season. And it leaves Capricorn and then it goes into Aquarius, which is the season we're at now. Now, every single one of these triangles is 30 degrees, which represents 1 degree per day that the sun is hanging out in that zodiac sign. So when we hit Aquarius season on January 20th, we will be at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And every day the sun will move approximately 1 degrees. And by February 18th, the sun will be at 39, which is technically 0 degrees of Pisces, the next zodiac sign. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. So that's why I kind of kept this chart up. Now this year, specifically Aquarius season is so monumental. You guys, this is huge. Every year we have Aquarius season on the same dates. However, this year specifically is going into the age of Aquarius. You guys keep hearing me talk about it over and over again. All the astrologers are talking about this. And pretty much what that means is our major planets of Saturn, which is right here that I drew on this chart, and Jupiter right here, both came conjunct, meaning they both came together at 0 degrees of Aquarius. They both entered Aquarius from Capricorn together on the same date, which was what we called the Great Conjunction back on December 21st. Remember we talked about the Christmas star? Well, that was because Saturn and Jupiter were right on top of each other, causing such brightness in the sky that it looked like one big star to us on Earth. And so since then, it's been a month, since then, the sun has left, which it was at 0 degrees of Capricorn when that conjunction happened. In that month, the sun went from here, sped up to here, Now it's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And in that meantime, Jupiter and Saturn have kind of moved apart. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So essentially here, what we have going on is we have Jupiter, we have Saturn, we have Mercury, which is this little guy over here, and the Sun all hanging out in Aquarius. And during Aquarius season, so before the Sun goes from here to here, while it's making its journey through Aquarius over the next 30 days, we will have Mercury going in a retrograde, which means he will back up over these other planets. We will have Venus, which is over here, catch up and jump into Aquarius. And we will also have the Moon, which is right here, also make its way around and jump into Aquarius. So during this year in 2021 of Aquarius season, we will have Jupiter, Saturn, the Moon, the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all at some point in this zodiac sign of Aquarius. This is huge, guys. This is a lot of planetary energy, which is really giving us like a wake-up call to pay attention to Aquarius vibes, pay attention to what Aquarius is asking us to do. And that's why this video is so important for us to really understand in this journal what Aquarius means. What kind of energy are we supposed to be harnessing and really focusing on over the next 4 weeks? So if you open up your journal, it says at the top a quote. And for every astrological season, I put a quote to kind of give you guys the vibe of what's going on over the next 4 weeks. And this one says, "You laugh because I'm different. I laugh because you're all the same." So Aquarius does not care about being the outsider. Aquarius does not care about being thought of as like weird or crazy. And this is something we really need to embrace over the next 4 weeks. You guys can feel the shift of the earth. You can feel the shift, the energy changing on planet Earth. Like people are so sick of like that stuffy, hoity-toity, look at me, I'm the best, I'm polished, I'm clean, I do things perfect. Like we're kind of over that, right? We want people to be real and authentic. We want people to just show who they are, show your truth, speak your truth. And that's what Aquarius is all about. So Aquarius in astrology is what we consider an air sign. And air signs are all about the mind. It's thinking outside the box. It's creating new ideas. It's coming up with new technology and new inventions and new ways of doing things. And that's really what we need in society. Aquarius is also known as the humanitarian of the zodiac. And because we're going into this age of Aquarius, society is really craving this concept of like humanitarianism. Society is really needing more humanitarians, more people doing things for the collective and for the good of everyone. And so over the next 4 weeks, whenever you guys make decisions, whenever you start to come up with ideas, think, how is this going to benefit the world, right? So Capricorn season, where we just left, Capricorn was all about being number one and our career goals and our success and our foundation and doing things the right way, doing it until we're number one, achieving everything we are like wanting to achieve. And it's making the concrete plan. Have you made your goals? Have you made your plan? Because that was in Capricorn season. And now we go into Aquarius season with those goals in hand and we say, how can my goals help others? How can I accomplish my dreams by helping others? And Aquarius, because we have so many planets in this sign, is really giving us that wake-up call of like, you're not going to get to where you want to go unless you help others along the way. You're not going to accomplish your dreams unless you're making sure that society is also taken care of. We are so done with the thinking me, me, me. And now we're thinking we. Literally, that is where our society is going now. Aquarius is all about the future. They want to create new inventions, new technology. What's something we can create that's like outside the box? What is a way of thinking that like goes against societal norms? Aquarius isn't afraid to say, well, I know you've always done it that way, but maybe we should do it this way. This might actually be a better way. And is not scared to speak against what is always been considered the right way to do things. So when Aquarius season rolls around, it's really a time for us to embrace our uniqueness. It's time for us to embrace the parts of us that are different from everyone else, because that's how we're going to shine. That's how we're going to contribute to this world. If we were all the same, we would never come up with new ideas, new businesses, new concepts, like new technology. If we just did it like everyone else did it, right? We need that inventor. We need the person who does things differently to make society evolve and grow. So embrace the parts of you that are unlike anyone else. That's what this world needs more of. Aquarius is not afraid to say, I don't want to do it that way. I'm going to stand in my truth because I believe that this is the right way to do things. Even though my whole life someone told me to do it that way, I'm going to do it this way because I believe this is the right way to do it. This is such an exciting energy to embrace over the next 4 weeks. So I really, really hope you guys kind of feel that and practice that before we get to Pisces season. Now, with every season, we have positive traits, positive qualities that we want to embrace. Like I said, this year it's about humanitarianism. It's about speaking our truth. It's about changing the collective. It's about embracing others and opinions that are different from us. And if you guys see in your retrograde journal, I put focus on these positive energies. These are the positive parts of Aquarius. But just like everything in life, there's positive and negative. There's polarity, right? So we have positive qualities of Aquarius that we should embrace over the next 4 weeks. But there's also negative traits that we want to try to avoid, that we want to catch ourselves when we start behaving that way, because the energy of Aquarius is coming in so hot that it's quick for us to embrace the positive and the negative. It's up to us to sift through the energy and say, okay, this one does not serve. It does not serve me, and it doesn't serve the rest of humanity. So make sure you pay attention to where I put beware of these negative energies. And I'm just going to talk about a few really quick in this video because I really want to make sure that you understand them. One of the negative traits of Aquarius is being too opinionated. So we can speak our truth. We can say, hey, I don't like the way that society does this. I think we should do it this way. But as we've seen in politics, when people kind of take it to that extreme and become too opinionated and they're forcing their opinions down other people's throats, that's too much Aquarius vibes. That's when we need to back up, because us forcing our opinions on others does not serve humanity. Again, we need to go back to the Aquarius concept of humanitarianism, and what's good for me is good for the collective. What's good for the collective is good for me. And so being too opinionated, we got to be a little careful with that. And the other thing is Aquarius is known as being inflexible. And that pretty much just means that, like, when I think I'm right and when I think I'm doing things a certain way, I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you think I'm weird. I don't care if it bothers you. That is being too inflexible. We have to understand that sometimes when we speak our truth and when we stand out as the weirdo and we do things our way, it makes others uncomfortable. As an example, for me, I love astrology. I talk about it all the time, but I might be around certain people that when I talk about astrology might make them uncomfortable. And instead of being all Aquarius and saying, well, I don't care, you can think I'm weird, whatever, I'm still gonna do me, I should realize that me being outside the box can make others a little uncomfortable. And so kind of toning it down and bringing it back to that humanitarian vibe and saying, okay, I understand that you don't get what I'm talking about, and that's okay, and we can agree to disagree. These are the things that we need to kind of embrace instead of being that like steadfast, really routine structured Aquarius. And the last thing I want to kind of talk about that you guys will read about Aquarius, or that you know if you know personally an Aquarius, is they can be very detached emotionally. And for the longest time, Aquarius was like my least favorite zodiac sign because they can be extremely heartless. I have now learned to embrace this about Aquarius, because as we go into this age of Aquarius and as we have all these planets giving us their Aquarius energy, I kind of understand a little bit more what this means. So instead of saying Aquarius is heartless and they have no emotions, instead what I'm realizing is they have detached emotions. So they're very analytical. It's an air sign, right? So it's very all about the mind. It's very logical. How do we create future technology? How do we innovate? How do we think outside the box? It's a very thinking sign. And in order to be able to do that, in order to kind of move life forward, we have to get out of our own way. We have to get out of our emotions. And so this is where Aquarius really harnesses that detached energy. Think with your analytical mind. Instead of always being emotional, instead of always like having feelings about everything, Aquarius says, no, we just need to do it a certain way. And it's that whole, if you think I'm weird, that's okay. I'm not emotional. I'm not a Pisces. I'm not Cancer. I'm not crying because you don't like me and you don't accept me. It's just detached. Okay, well, you think that way and I think that way, and that's so totally okay. Detached energy. And as our society grows and evolves, I want you guys to remember this for the rest of 2020, because this is really, really important. Saturn is going to be here in Aquarius the entire year. Saturn, karma, Lord of discipline, Lord of structure, Lord of, all the parental kind of rules that we don't want to follow, but we have to follow. Saturn is going to be hanging out in Aquarius. So this is a prevalent theme over the whole year. And that is, if we don't embrace change, if we don't get out of our feelings and our emotions of like, this is the way it's always been, this is how I want it to stay, if we don't detach from that, if we don't get out of our own way, we are going to be left behind. So as life evolves, as life changes, as there's new governments, as there's new ways of spending money, as there's new ways of doing things, new laws, new rules, one, we have to be the humanitarian and say, does this help everyone? Or is this only serving a small collective of people? Because that can't fly anymore in 2021. We have to do things that are humanitarian, Aquarius vibes, helping everyone. And then we also need to say, I'm okay with doing things different. I'm okay with learning about a new way that I never agreed with before. So I'm gonna give you an example. Maybe you're someone that always believed in conventional medicine. You go to the doctor, you get your x-rays, you take your pharmaceuticals, and you do this, and that's how it's always been done, and yet you don't believe in anything other than that. Now Aquarius is saying, maybe there is a different way to do things. Maybe I should look into, I'm just throwing this out there, CBD. I've heard so much about it. Maybe there's something to that, right? Aquarius vibes would say, well, I'm kind of curious of thinking a way that's different than I've always thought. And air sign, remember, it's an air sign, so it likes to think differently. It likes to think outside the box. Maybe our solutions are outside the box. Maybe your career, you've always done things a certain way and you're not moving ahead in your career. Maybe it's time to think outside the box. What's a different career path that suits my unique, Aquarius vibes, my unique traits? I'm different than everyone else. Maybe I need to embrace what's different about me and make a business around that. Instead of doing what everyone else is doing, instead of creating something that's already there, maybe I should do something that's like totally far out there, like the alien, right? Like I just said, like the crazy inventor vibes. And maybe that's the way to get ahead. And does my unique traits help humanity? Because that's even a bigger plus. Okay, I know I keep going around in circles and I'm saying the same thing, so I really hope it's making sense for you guys. This Aquarius season is major. There's so much energy going on here. We have a full moon, we have a new moon, we have a Mercury retrograde, we have some crazy conversations going on between all the planets here. So make sure you tune in for the full moon in Leo video. That's what this chart right here actually is a snapshot and a picture of. So I'm gonna do that video in a little while and post it on the 28th of January. And I'm just gonna leave you guys with this. Make sure that when you're filling out your journal prompts in here, you don't have to fill them out on January 20th, on the first day of Aquarius season. You can fill them out anytime during the season. And you might fill them out on day one, on January 20th, and maybe reflect back by the end of the season on February 18th on your question and how you answered it. And maybe, just maybe, if you embrace these Aquarius vibes, you might realize that you're actually starting to think a little different than you did 30 days prior when you filled out these journal prompts. Also make sure where I said here in the middle of the journal, embrace your inner Aquarius. I listed 4 things that you should put on your calendar for the next month to do during this season. And also don't forget, it's so important to know your own personal birth chart because we all have Aquarius within our birth chart. We were all born under the constellation of Aquarius somewhere in the sky at the moment we were born. So even though you might be a Leo sun and a Scorpio rising and a Cancer moon, you still have Aquarius somewhere in your chart. And even if there's no planets in your zodiac sign of Aquarius when you were born, it still represents a key area of your life. So understanding where Aquarius is in your birth chart will help you understand where all these planets and their energies are playing out in your life. So for me, it's in my 4th house, 1, 2, 3, 4th house, which is the house of home and family. So when this season goes down, I expect some shifts in my home, I expect some shifts in my family and my living situation and the way that I interact and care and take care of my family, and that's just going to be my theme for the entire year. So what about you? Drop in the comments below what house your Aquarius falls in, because I want to make sure to support you on your journey in 2021 as we enter this age of Aquarius, and what is really going to be your focus over the next month in Aquarius season, over the next year as Saturn plays out in Aquarius, over the next decade, over the next 200 years during the age of Aquarius. So let me know in the comments below. Where's Aquarius in your chart? What house? And do you have any planets in it? So I'm going to wrap up this video just by saying thank you guys so much for purchasing the journal. For those of you who have it, if you don't have it yet, go ahead and pick up a copy at the link below. Subscribe to my channel because I will be putting out more videos for every astrological event that's written in this book throughout 2021. And I'm also going to be posting lots more videos, Soul Growth Sundays that we do in our private Facebook group, some holistic health videos on healing, other videos on spiritual growth and crystals and essential oils and all the really fun tools that we have right at our own hands to help us heal and evolve and grow. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.